Welcome to Taiwan Report News Brief, news and analysis from Taiwan. I'm Donovan Smith. Up today on the program, packaging use is down, but coronavirus creates exceptions on eating utensils. DPP lawmaker Fan Yun wants to block foreigners, and Academia Sinica. Concerns over upcoming electronic IDs have been voiced. Apple is reported to contract TSMC to make their own designed chips. Yet again, there's much big business news that is mixed. A pro-China political party loses power in Kiribati over the issue of Taiwan. And finally, a big uptick in Chinese trolls targeting international media. But of course, it wouldn't be 2020 if we didn't kick off the program with coronavirus news. Taiwan reports one new case of COVID-19 in Navy cluster. Now that brings the total up to 428. Now, I believe that means that we've gone 11 days with no domestic transmission, assuming that we consider these ones that have come in off the Navy to not be domestic. The government actually isn't considering them to be domestic or imported, which puts them in kind of a weird zone. Now, if this screw-up hadn't have happened in the Navy on this ship, we still would have had less than 400 cases. All right, Taipei Times, the headline reads, packaging for online shopping drops by 184.7 tons, EPA. The amount of packaging materials used for online shopping decreased by 184.7 tons in the first quarter despite growing sales, the Environmental Protection Agency said on Monday. Now, this is, it says here, since 2011, an estimated 100 million packaging items, such as boxes, bags, and plastic materials, have been used, creating 18,000 tons of trash. However, before creating official guidelines in April last year for online merchants on how to reduce packaging, the EPA convened 5 meetings with experts to discuss industry practices and ways to become eco-friendly. Targets in the guidelines for this year include using packaging manufactured from a single recyclable material, packaging with a prescribed percentage of recycled materials, packaging with print on less than 50% of the total area, and packaging with no polyvinyl chloride. However, due to the COVID-19 pandemic, businesses across the nation have been given the green light to once again use disposable tableware. Local governments received applications from March 15th to Wednesday last week, approving exemptions for 377 businesses, 194 public institutions, 153 schools, 17 department stores and shopping malls, and 13 hypermarkets. More than 300 of the businesses are in Hualien County, where the county government has fully suspended the ban. Now, these include disposable cups, bowls, plates, dishes, food boxes, chopsticks, spoons, forks, and stirring sticks. All right, this is the KMT official website, but their source is the UDN. The headline reads, motion to exclude foreign nationalities from academicians elections elicits disputes. Now, it says here that the looks like James Liao has been reelected as the Academia Sinica president. It says here, will be next year. While interpolating Liao at the Legislative Education Committee yesterday, DPP legislator Fan Yun blurted out congratulations to Liao for his re-election, which was not later denied. Soon afterwards, the Academia Sinica confirmed the matter by saying that in a meeting in mid-April, the Council of Academia Sinica had approved Liao's re-election. In addition, the Academia Sinica is slated to elect new academicians in July. As no regulations exist on the nationality of Academia Sinica academicians, many of them don't possess ROC citizenship. In a meeting of the Legislative Education Committee yesterday, 3 legislators, including Fan Yun, introduced a motion demanding that in order to ensure that all elected must be ROC nationals in the future, the Academia Sinica re-examine its election system to fully implement nationality checks, and that those without ROC nationality could only be elected as honorary academicians. With this motion elicited disputes, with several describing the move as national isolationism yesterday. Now, this is a little bit disturbing, actually. Fan Yun is, or was originally, the leading light in the Social Democratic Party. So this seems like a very small, navel-gazing, nationalistic thing to do, and very discriminatory toward immigrants. Considering that academics are obviously, they're focused on their topics at hand, it seems like their nationality should not really be an issue. And I didn't even know academician is a word. All right, moving on to ZDNet. Academics, see, they used a word I know. Academics sign petition against rollout of Taiwanese electronic ID card. Over 100 students, academics, industry, professionals, political figures, and NGOs have signed a petition to void plans to replace Taiwan's ID card with a new electronic version. Set to begin rolling out in October, the chipped card would allow digital signatures, new anti-forgery capability, and other applications that can be built on top of it. The card will physically display the cardholder's name, birth date, ID card number, and marital status. Further details, such as gender, parents, spouse names, birthplace, and home address, will also be stored within an embedded chip. The petition, started by the NGO Taiwan Association for Human Rights on April 21st, said that the electronic ID cards bring about new legal conflicts, along with personal information and information security risks. So the government has been speeding up on this, and the coronavirus has not slowed it down at all. Now, the petition calls for the government to continue allowing non-chipped ID cards. It also calls for the government to pass comprehensive privacy protection legislation, as Europe has done with the General Data Protection Regulation, and establish an independent privacy protection authority. They also have some concerns about information security. They say here that they have doubts about the information security literacy of a large number of people, including managers and developers. And there's now, however, the government, of course, defended itself, saying Taiwan's Minister of Interior published a statement online Thursday refuting the petition's allegations of there being personal information risk and potential legal issues. In the Taipei Times, now this is actually a rerun Bloomberg post, the headline reads Apple plans own chips for Macs. So essentially, they are looking to probably use Taiwan Semiconductor, or TSMC, which is already Apple's partner for iPhone and iPad processors, to build the new Mac chips. Now, this is just a report. These are people who are not being identified as they're being quoted. Now, it says here that they want to design their own chips and move away from Intel. So this would be a pretty big blow to Intel. So these would be for laptops and things like that. Continuing in the Taipei Times, industrial data increases 10.41%. Industrial production last month increased 10.1% year on year, driven by transferred orders and recovering market demand in the manufacturing sector. Output from the manufacturing sector, which contributes more than 90% of total industrial production, last month grew 11.09% year on year. The increase was mainly due to strong growth in the electronics components industry and computers, electronics, and optical components. Focus Taiwan, COVID-19 contagion hurts business sentiment among manufacturers. In the wake of the escalating spread of COVID-19 around the world, business sentiment in the local manufacturing sector weakened in March. Now, it says here that the composite index compiled by TIER, which gauges business sentiment among manufacturers, fell 6.48 points from a month earlier to 82.35. In the service industry, and construction industries, it was also down, and there's concerns in the food and beverage, tourism, and insurance industries. They're fairly downbeat. And in the construction industry, business sentiment was hurt by delays in some new private projects in the wake of a lack of construction materials and workers, although government efforts to push for public infrastructure helped limit the impact on sentiment. Continuing in Focus Taiwan, the headline reads, Thinktank cuts forecast for Taiwan's 2020 GDP growth to 1.58%. The Taiwan Institute of Economic Research, or TIER, on Friday lowered its forecast for the country's economic growth in 2020 to 1.58%. Now, this is very interesting because most of the local Taiwan ones, for example, there's another one quoted down near the end of the article here. It says the Zhonghua Institute for Economic Research, another local one, cut its growth forecast to 1.03%, and Yuanta Polaris Research Institute in March dropped its projection to 1.5%. So all the Taiwan ones are basically predicting something between about 1 and 1.8%. All the international ones are below 1%, all the way down to the IMF's projection of minus 4%. So there's definitely a gap between what foreign analysts see the future being, or this year's GDP being, and local ones. I think it's an interesting disparity. In The Guardian, pro-China Kiribati president loses majority over switch from Taiwan. China's diplomatic ambitions in the Pacific suffered a setback on Wednesday when the party that switched recognition from Taiwan to China last year lost its majority in Parliament over its handling of the move. In the second round of parliamentary elections, the governing party and allies won 22 seats out of 45, dealing a blow to the president, who previously enjoyed a comfortable majority of 31. The rest of the seats were won by members or allies of two other parties, one of which has pledged to switch back to Taiwan, and the other made up of MPs who left the governing party to create a new opposition party over the president's handling of the switch. Now, this is very interesting because this means that there's a very good chance that Kiribati will restore their diplomatic recognition of Taiwan. But it's also very important strategically, even though it has only a little over 100,000 people. Kiribati is thought to be of interest partly due to its location, and that's to China. Some islands are just 700 kilometers from U.S. military installations, and also due to Christmas Island, the world's biggest atoll with a landmass of nearly 400 square kilometers, it lies just 2,150 kilometers from Honolulu, home of the U.S. Pacific Command, and is far to the east of existing port facilities available to the Chinese Navy. So there's actually a very nice island there that already has, as they put it here, they already have an airfield and a nice deep water port, which they could turn into a military base. And that's what a lot of people think that China is eyeing. However, if diplomatic recognition returns back to Taiwan, that makes it less likely, and that would help block China. In Business Insider, the headline reads, pro-China trolls are doing their best to stoke tensions for Taiwan by amplifying racist claims and spreading misinformation about California leaving the U.S. Chinese trolls have been harassing news outlets like the BBC and the Wall Street Journal, stoking tensions for Taiwan and helping Iranian trolls spread misinformation about California leaving the U.S., according to a new report. In April, the trolls allegedly tried to bolster a claim made by World Health Organization Director General Tedros that he was subjected to online racism by Taiwan's government. A network of bloggers in China have been attacking news outlets, trying to increase international political tensions, according to a report by the Australian Strategic Policy Institute, and they're about trolls in China who don't appear to be linked to the government, which said although Chinese trolling is not new, the main campaign appears to have picked up steam around mid-March as a loose network of Twitter accounts designed to mimic and harass Western media. According to the report by ASPI researchers, an analysis of the words used by the trolls found that the accounts were made by people who spoke mainland Chinese. I assume they mean by that simplified Chinese writing. And that's it for today's program. Be sure to check out all these English language articles and some other things I found for you on report.tw. Be sure to subscribe and tune in tomorrow.
This has been brought to you by the Taiwan Report. For more content like this, become our patron at report.tw.
哎呦，就是那个台湾狗啦，最喜欢我的台湾狗了。